Hello and welcome to Joy News at 6. The news is live on Joy 99.7 and hits 103.9 FM in Accra. In Galamsey on Love 99.5 FM and over 30 affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions, including Jubilee Radio, Sun City Radio, Keta, Saboba FM Saboba, and A1 Radio Bolgatanga. Get radio, TV, and online content on the myjoyonline.com interactive app for Android and iOS devices. Coming up, COCOBOB institutes measures to reject cocoa produced from protected forest areas as the country faces possible sanctions in the European market due to the heightened levels of Galamsey.
If the farm is within a forest zone, then you do not qualify as a cocoa farmer.
Also, Special Prosecutor hints more than 100 people are likely to be invited in the coming weeks regarding their involvement with the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining as the office expands the scope of investigations.
We do not conduct ourselves in a military style. I'm only saying, if you give us the cause, we will come for you. If you give us the cause, we will storm your premises.
More as he warns persons of interest and suspects of storming their premises if they don't honor his invitation in business.
Some civil society organizations pressurize government to publish names of third parties involved in Gold for Oil program. Details on the Joy Business Report.
Now, 66 years of borrowing, 17 IMF bailouts will tell you how Ghana has failed to manage its debt crisis.
The 16th IMF program actually failed on one of its objectives, which was to substantially bring down debt.
I am Mamiesi Nyamiche Thompson. This is your home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. Details shortly. In our first story, Ghana's COCOBOB says steps have been instituted to screen cocoa beans from farmers, insisting it will not buy produce from protected forest areas. Ghana is seeking to avoid possible sanctions following the approval of the new European Union law on deforestation, which will make it impossible for for cocoa to be sold in Europe unless the supplier certifies that it does not come from a deforested land. Head of Public Affairs Fifi Boafo tells Joy News, COCOBOB will begin issuing specialized cards to farmers in October, which qualifies them to sell cocoa to produce buying companies.
Going forward from October this year, before a farmer will be able to sell cocoa to Ghana COCOBOB for export, that farmer will come with a cocoa card. Before you get a cocoa card, you should have been registered, and then through the registration process, we'll do the GPS mapping of your farm. And if the farm is within a forest zone, then you do not qualify as a cocoa farmer, because this system we are developing, we superimpose it on that of the Forestry Commission.
Head of Public Affairs at COCOBOB, Fifi Boafo, there. The Special Prosecutor, Kisie Jabing, says more than 100 persons are likely to be invited in the coming weeks for their roles with the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining. This comes in the wake of the arrest of its former boss, Professor Frimpong Boateng, by the Office of the Special Prosecutor, who indicated he feels victimized. But speaking on current affairs program Newsfile, Mr. Ajabing says so far scores of individuals have been called to assist in investigations.
I told you that the numbers may run in the hundreds. I said that a few minutes ago. The numbers may run in the hundreds, and so far, those who have come before us are in the tens. So it is a list of people who are going to come one after the other. And you keep talking about arrest. Maybe I should go there. You keep talking about arrest. See, once again, the processes with us. We have full police powers, and people should notice this.
Mr. Jabing also indicated that anyone who takes advice from a lawyer not to turn in on an invitation do so at their own risk, because there will be legal consequences.
If you follow your lawyer sitting in his office, a lawyer who arrogates to himself the powers of the law, and sit in office and you follow the lawyer in respect of these things, and we ask you to show up and you don't show up, there are legal consequences to pay. Mind you, your lawyer will not be paying those consequences. It is you who will be paying those consequences. But something, we do not conduct ourselves in a military style. I'm only saying, if you give us the cause, we will come for you.
Mr. Kisie Jabing is Special Prosecutor. A flag bearer of the opposition NDC, John Mahama, is calling on Parliament to lead the charge in reviewing the constitutional provision that prevents Ghanaians with dual citizenship from holding political positions in the country. NDC Asin North candidate James Judge Kwesin, who was stripped of his parliamentary status by Supreme Court ruling because he owed allegiance to another country, contrary to law. Listen to the former president, who has been speaking at the NDC European chapter conference in Amsterdam, Netherlands.
One of the things I will do when elected president in 2024 will be to fast-track the clarification of the constitutional provision on allegiance that bars our dual citizens from holding some offices in Ghana. I call on our Speaker, Honorable Sumana Bagbin, and the Parliament of Ghana to do the needful so that Ghana can benefit fully from the expertise that our citizens have garnered during their sojourn abroad.
Mr. Mahama also said the opposition party will resist any conspiracy between the governing NPP and Electoral Commission to roll out what he describes as a lopsided representation of the People Amendment Act, ROPA. Despite having a huge debt cancellation a decade ago, Ghana still loses almost 30% of its annual revenue to payments on its external debt alone, and is currently under a 17th IMF program hoping to salvage an age-old economic problem, debt crisis. In our latest Hotline documentary, Joy News' Isaac Kofiege takes us on a historical ride tracking Ghana's over 6 decades of ballooning public debt stock.
Were described as not credit worthy. No creditors will continue to give us credit lines to run the business of government for the nation. So we decided to go the HIPIC way, and it worked.
Ghana was the second biggest beneficiary of debt relief, literally in the world. More than $6 billion of money was freed up for us.
The borrowing became a vicious cycle, and Ghana couldn't escape the trap. Even after debt forgiveness, Ghana discovered oil, and by 2011, the country had started producing and exporting its first barrels of crude oil.
I do not want Ghanaians to think that the oil discovery is the end of everything. That is the end of the journey. If anything, it's the beginning of the journey.
In January 2011, Ghana was set to become the fastest growing economy in sub-Saharan Africa. By 2015, Ghana's economy was in trouble, hobbled by widening current account and budget deficits. To several considerations, Ghana was back to the IMF seeking a fresh bailout. This was our 16th.
But by the time we went to Sinchi and looked at the policies and the rest, we realized, that it was going to be difficult. And then as, was the case, the development partners also decided that, they didn't think we could handle this problem ourselves.
A nation that begs, as this morning on the Super Morning Show at 8:30 a.m. and later tonight on the Joy News channel at 8:30 p.m. Highways are generally smooth in nature, serving as quick routes for drivers. But that's not the case of the highway from Kaneshi First Light to Odoko Waterworks, which has huge portions severely destroyed by mini swimming pools, stagnant water bearing the semblance of creamy beverages, as well as the mother of all the devastation, potholes. Bakwesi Shandov captures the spectacle in today's edition of Joy News' Ghana's Potholes exhibition.
Creamy beverages always delight the tongue. But splashes of the ones on the streets of Accra do not satisfy drivers. Instead, it makes their tongues wag with complaints and endless frustrations.
The situation has persisted for the past 7 years. We've been pleading with authorities, but to no avail. Because of the poor nature of the road, a lot of people have actually lost their lives while crossing it.
But how do these creamy beverages end up on the streets in the first place? Potholes. They are served and produced by potholes, a menace on almost all the roads in the country. Apart from serving what looks like beverages on the streets, potholes also create other embarrassing scenes on our roads. This is not a beach resort, neither is it a spot for relaxation. It's actually a lane on the Odoko-Malam Highway. Unfortunately, the place has now become a resting place for water, and anytime it rains, it becomes a severe challenge not only for drivers, but commuters alike. Terrible, devastating, and a real pain. These are some of the strong adjectives commuters use in describing the glaring potholes sitting in the middle of some parts of the Kaneshie-Malam Highway, a principal road network in the capital, Accra.
In a quest for glory and academic supremacy, the Central Region's NSMQ qualifiers ignite, with 43 schools vying for 9 coveted slots in the national. Our correspondent Michael Ashali has more.
In a highly anticipated showdown, 43 schools in the Central Region are vying for the coveted 9 slots in the National Science and Maths Quiz. As the competition heats up, several schools have captivating stories that add intrigue to the qualifiers. Wesley Girls Senior High School is participating in the regional qualifiers for the first time. Their hopes for a seeded position was dashed last year by Mauli Senior High School.
Wesley Girls High School. Unfortunately, we have to part ways here.
This year, they are determined to make a strong debut and secure their spot in the nationals.
So that means we need to break the tie to determine who the winner is.
Holy Child Senior High School faced disappointment in the 2022 preliminary stage when they were eliminated by Kumasi Secondary Technical School.
Kumasi Sectech? -1. Emmanuel?
-17.
That is correct.
Michael Ashali with that report. And that's all for this morning's package. You heard in our top story, COCOBOB institutes measures to reject cocoa produced from protected forest areas as the country faces possible sanctions in the European market due to the heightened levels of Galamsey. Business is up next on the Super Morning Show.